Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's yours truly, Dan Adams, a.k.a. the Soulful Conservative, the DA, and the prosecutor. And no, your eyes are not deceiving you. It is actually 6:36 a.m. here in the city of Steele, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm on my way to the J.O.B. And I told myself, and I had a talk with my wife last night, seeing that I premiered the Dan Adams Show on Facebook Live yesterday, that I am going to do this consistently. In the past, I've started this show and stopped it, started it, stopped it, started it. Well, guess what? Through rain, sleet, snow, darkness, the Dan Adams Show was coming to you every single day in some form or fashion. So in this case, the beginning of this show starts in darkness. But I'm not going to lead you into darkness, ladies and gentlemen. That's not my intent. My intent is always to lead you to the light. The light shined bright by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and by my Heavenly Father, who has given me this life this morning, giving me the breath, giving me the ability to get out of my bed without any pain. And I'm going to continue to work hard for you and yours, ladies and gentlemen, to bring the truth to the masses. And speaking of truth, I guess as I was listening to the talk radio stations of this morning, and on the Bloom Daddy Show, he was talking about the incident with Whoopi Goldberg and how she said that the Holocaust was not about race. And she made this speech yesterday on The View, and she tweeted out her apology on Twitter. No, Whoopi. No. You're not getting away with tweeting out an apology late night. You're going on your show. You better be going on your show, The View, today, February 1st, 2022, and apologizing and making that idiotic statement, that idiotic comment, that idiotic sentiment that the Holocaust was not about race. For those who are not even historians of Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, knows that is one of the most idiotic statements that you could ever make. So Whoopi, I better be seeing your ass making a hopefully heartfelt apology on your show, The View, where you spew your hatred, where you spew your ignorance. And for a person who I believe is Jewish, should know better than this. But yet she's black, and she feels that black folk are the only folk that racism can be racism is the let me restate that statement I'm trying to make here. Only black people, can be the recipient of racism. There you go, Dan. I ain't got my coffee yet, so some words may jumble and jargle as I make my way to the J.O.B. But to get back to the statement and the topic at hand, my statement is this. Whoopi Goldberg is a black racist. That's right, I said it. She is a black racist, a black person who feels the need, who feels the gumption, who feels within her bones that racism can only be against black people. It can never be white against white people or black people against white people. And that's, in and of itself, one of the dumbest premises that you could have. Racism is racism is racism. But in today's society, with the wokeness being woven into racism, who knows what these people think racism is, ladies and gentlemen? Because these people are completely out of their minds. Out of their minds. And when you got Ibram X. Kendi, a.k.a. something, I forgot his first name, but his last name is Rogers. Ibram X. Kendi. And if you go on my Rumble channel, and let me state this, it'll be in the description of this video. YouTube has me blocked from uploading videos up until April. So Rumble will be the main place to get the Dan Adams Show. So I will put that in the description section of this video. I love it when Ibram X. Kendi, Mr. I'm going to charge you $40,000 to $60,000 for a Zoom call for white people to get yelled at and make them feel guilty because they're white, even though probably most of those white people don't even have a racist, bigoted bone in their body. Don't know for sure, but I know all the white people that I know who are God-fearing people don't have a racist or bigoted bone in their body, are not having to pay out the yin-yang and out the ass. That's right, I said out the ass, to listen to some Ibram X. Kendi who can't even define the word racism. Go on my Rumble channel, look it up, you'll see the video. He cannot even explain or define what racism is. So people like that, ladies and gentlemen, are supposed to be the woke elite, the black elite. Well, as one Delano Squires of Blaze Network and a frequent participant on the Jason, oh my gosh, woo, can't even think of the guy's name this one. Like I said, haven't had my coffee. The Jason Whitlock, Fearless with Jason Whitlock show on Blaze, Delano Squires. You know what? I'm not even going to, you know what? I'm going to place what he said right here.
Am I right in thinking that we think political agitation is the key to black people moving ahead?
I think so, and I think part of it stems from, it's a really sad irony. Some of the people who claim to be most unapologetically black don't know how to define themselves outside of white people, right? So you know, I've told you guys, my wife and I, you know, we homeschool, so our kids are young, so they're really into, you know, planets and astronomy. And one day it hit me. I was thinking that for a lot of us, we relate to white people the way, you know, the earth relates to the sun, right? So we don't know how to sustain or even conceive of life outside of us revolving around them. Now, what we should be doing is relating to them, and all people the way planets relate to one another. So we're in orbit, right? We're moving together. Some planets are larger than others. Some move faster than others. But for some reason, some people don't know how to define themselves outside of quote unquote whiteness. So that's why that's all they talk about is whiteness and white supremacy. They have no idea what it means to be black in America in 2021 without having to attach blackness or tether blackness to whiteness.
Delano, one day they're going to fire me and just give you this show if you keep saying things like you just said. I want you to repeat and just expound a little bit on your sun and the earth, and just like we can't grow and develop without white people shining a light on us. They're our source of life. Man, you just said a mouthful. I can't wait to put this out over social media. If you can just elaborate on that just a little bit more. I want so the back of the room can hear you.
Sure. So really what it is, it's as I said, for many black folk, and particularly the ones who claim to be most unapologetically black, right? For them, white people and whiteness, because that's one of the things they talk about all the time. It's their sun, their SUN. In many respects, when they tie whiteness to everything from lynchings to nuclear family, what they're saying is this is both our source of light and heat, and they don't know how to define their lives outside of whiteness and white people. Now, what they should do is to see all other peoples as I said, just other planets in orbit. And again, this is where my own worldview comes in, where we are revolving around the sun, the SON. And when you do that, you see that you don't need another planet to affirm you or give you life, because they have no ability to give life. So I hope for some of those people that they would realize that there is more to being black in 2021 than to be against whiteness or white people.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Straight out of Delano Squires' mouth. And what Ibram X. Kendi and all of these woke black folk, not even woke black folk, these are the black elite, ladies and gentlemen, who have now found a niche to where they can get paid. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all about these people getting paid. And speaking of getting paid, let's talk about Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter Global Foundation. And they're all of a sudden, we've got millions of dollars now, so we're going to shift this money into the bank accounts of those who started this idiotic movement. So I believe it was last year or the year before, I cannot recall, one of the founding members of the Black Lives Matter Global Initiative moved millions of dollars into her bank account so she could buy herself houses and her family houses. But now we see now, with the latest financial, working of the books, that the remaining founders in regards to the global initiative, Black Lives Matter, I believe it's individuals in California, I believe. I do not have the article right in front of me to read and to verify this, but it's some of the founding members of the global initiative, Black Lives Matter, moving millions of dollars out of the coffers of the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah, you woke white people out here talking to you. The money that you gave to Black Lives Matter, these black folk are putting it in their bank account and making their lives much better than what it was before this Black Lives Matter movement started. They're enriching their lives probably way more than you right now, because your dumbass sent money to Black Lives Matter. It is a Ponzi scheme, ladies and gentlemen. Black Lives Matter is nothing but a Ponzi scheme. They have bamboozled you. And I'm talking to not just only woke white folk, but woke black folk, who all of a sudden, because Black Lives Matter is supposed to be this initiative that is something that they need to get behind because they're black. Yet, this movement is essence and infancy and origination is about Marxism and communism. These woke and black and white folk have no idea. Or if they do and they don't care, that's even worse. It's even worse if these woke black and white folk know the origins of the Black Lives Matter movement being encased in Marxism and communism. Then, ladies and gentlemen, these people are completely stuck on stupid. And if they are going to continually pull money out of their own bank accounts to enrich these founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, because that's what they're all at. Do you see any improvement in the black community in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement? Here in Pittsburgh, I sure enough don't see it. So all my fellow black people out there that may be listening to this, is the Black Lives Matter movement making any improvement in your hood? Exactly. So why are you propping these people up? Is it because it makes you feel good? Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives. Really? If Black lives really mattered, then they would be worrying about the Black lives being murdered in the womb. If Black lives really mattered, then they would worry about these kids and these young adults and adults being killed in the hood across the nation by fellow black lives. So does Black Lives Matter really care about black lives taking the lives of other black lives? No. It's, oh my gosh, police brutality, the case of here and there of a black life being taken by police, warranted or not, and in most cases, the police shooting or police intervention was warranted. But we can't talk about that. We can't talk about when these incidents happen and these black folk tear up their own hood. We can't talk about that. And I'm meaning the woke white and woke black folk, they won't talk about it. But me, being who I am, the soulful conservative, will continually talk about it. Now let's move on to another subject that I heard this morning, and it's kind of crazy. Hate bringing up COVID again, but I got to talk about it. I guess there is a group of scientists now 2 years later, coming out and stating that they were basically bullied and put on blast by the science community, by the NIH, by Fauci, Collins, Walensky, and anyone else who dared talk about a lab leak being the origin of COVID. Now they're saying, because up until this point, ladies and gentlemen, we're supposed to be following the science. Well, now we know for certain, more than likely, that, science was the culprit in regards to the origin of COVID. But now, scientists who felt that they were bullied, scientists who felt that they were put on blast or money was taken away in regards to grants and things of that nature, which the NIH did. Now they're talking about, oh, wait a minute, yeah, more than likely it came out of a lab and it was leaked and it wasn't from some freaking bat in some cave. That is astonishing that after 2 years of anyone bringing up a lab leak theory, being silenced, being banned, being looked at as probably one of the most evil people on the planet. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we were looked at. When us, from the beginning, knew this was a lab leak, spoke on it, and everyone keeps saying, well, you don't have any evidence. Well, you don't have any. Really? We're talking about China here, ladies and gentlemen. China. The same China, and I don't mean to pivot, but the same China who was hosting the Winter Olympics is saying that America is trying to sabotage the Olympics. That is that's probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. So America is trying to sabotage the Beijing Olympics, Winter Olympics. I had to put that out there if you haven't heard. I don't know the full scope of what they're blaming the United States for in regards to trying to sabotage the Olympics. But the fact that it even came out of the Chinese folks' mouth is ridiculous. But let's pivot back to COVID and the lab leak theory, and scientists after 2 years coming out and saying, yeah, more likely it was probably a lab leak. Remember when President Trump at the time said, hey, it probably came out of a lab. He was demonized. Anyone else that even spoke on that topic was demonized. And now, almost 2 years later, all of these scientists who felt that they were bullied and put on blast for even having the formation of thought that it was a lab leak, now they want to come out and say that it was more than likely a lab leak. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how you're going to take that. I don't know how this is sitting with you, but I'm going to let you know how it's sitting with me. F you, scientists. If you weren't, and I guess, let me restate that. I'm not going to say F you. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say you're cowards. You're complete and utter cowards. The fact that it took you almost 2 years to come out with some kind of bravery. You're probably thinking, I'm brave for coming out and saying this. No. Most of us out here knew more than likely what the origin of COVID was. But yet, you're patting yourself on the back this morning because you're now coming out saying that it's more than likely a lab leak. You were a coward. You should have been saying this from day one. Even if you didn't have any concrete evidence of it. But as the months went on, more and more evidence came out pointing to the fact that it was more than likely a lab leak, and you still stayed silent. You still stayed behind the scenes. And that bravery that you feel right now was non-existent. So I'll take back the FU comment. I'm man enough to do that. But I will not take away the fact that you are a coward. Now, I want to talk about this whole situation with our police in America. And we can have several shows talking about the current state of our police in America and the left and the mainstream media's attack on our police and the whole defund the police movement that started in the summer of 2020. Now, I'm looking at it like this, ladies and gentlemen. You had Jen Psaki go on, I guess, Pod Save America, whatever the hell that leftist-leaning podcast that's really popular, which I didn't know it was. Never even heard of it until I heard about this incident with an ex-Obama aide calling Kyrsten Sinema the C word. Well, I guess Jen Psaki went on that podcast and started mouthing off about how Fox News, all they talk about is the crime statistics. Crime, and crime. Well, I'm sorry, Jen Psaki. When you have 5% plus elevation in crime across the nation in regards to murders, aggravated assaults, sexual assaults, and any other crime that you could think of, domestic abuse and violence. Each of these categories had at least a 5% increase in the year 2021. Well, who was president the year of 2021? Yes, Jen Psaki, your boss, former Vice President Sleepy Joe Biden. Well, she can talk about Fox News always talking about and reporting on crime and this idiotic notion that the America Rescue Act had money set aside to help out the police, which even the Washington Post came out and said, no. Even their fact checker gave her in that statement Pinocchios. So for her to come out and say what she said, that the that the right and Fox News just always want to talk about crime. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Jen Psaki doesn't have to worry about crime entering her world. She doesn't have to worry about crime entering her circle when she works at probably one of the most protected buildings on the planet, the White House. Guarantee you she has a security detail protecting her ass on a daily basis. But not me and my family, not you and your family. She can talk about, we don't want to talk about crime. We don't need to talk about. I'm sorry. When crime is skyrocketing in my hood, in your hood, we're going to talk about it. Jen Peppermint Patty Psaki. Circle back Psaki. just because your privileged ass doesn't have to worry about crime coming into your little circle, into your world. And guarantee you, you were a supporter of defunding the police. When defund the police was the word of the day in summer of 2020. But then we have the upheaval and the inclination and the downright criminals who across the country, knowing that in certain cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles, and now definitely New York City with the current district attorney, Mr. I'm not gonna prosecute anybody for any crime, basically, and let you out on bail and such and such and such. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are going to have these type of DAs, George Soros-backed DAs, running amok across the country, letting out murderers, not just petty thieves, but letting out murderers, just like we can't talk about that? We can't be outraged in regards to that? And the fact that you're downplaying the rise in crime across this country only shows where you and your leftist ideology always ends up on the side of idiocy, on the side of ignorance, on the side of whatever seems to be the leftist talking point of the moment. So I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to allow the likes of Jen Peppermint Patty Circleback Psaki downplay the effects of the rise in crime across this country, because she knows damn well that crime will never affect her in her life and the people in her life. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I end this particular podcast for today, and as you go about your day today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to once again ask a special blessing on me, my family, but to you and your family as well. May God continue to keep you and your family safe. And until next time, God bless you and yours. Peace.
Have you seen in your decades of service in science, as a medical professional, as a neurosurgeon, have you ever seen the levels of censorship within the scientific community that we've witnessed in the last 2 years under COVID?
No, I've never seen it. People are being intimidated. They're being threatened. You may remember early on when people were talking about hydroxychloroquine, they were being censored. And the interesting thing is, of course, if you go to West Africa and you go to the coast, virtually everybody takes hydroxychloroquine or an equivalent because of the malaria. And they have 94% less COVID infections than we do. You think that's a coincidence?
It's one of the first things I noticed very early on when everybody who were lay people were trying to study up on the coronavirus. I looked at a global map of infections, and I saw that the African continent was almost devoid of serious cases of COVID. And I thought, what's going on there? And then I realized that it's an over-the-counter drug. Almost everybody's taken hydroxy for the last 50 years because of malaria. But when you mention this, you're somehow a conspiracy theorist. What is the motivation? Have you divined a motivation amongst your peers in science, in medicine, to attack therapeutics and push vaccines? Yes. Why? What is it?
It's because of a very stupid rule that we have that says you cannot get an emergency use authorization if there is another alternative that is potentially effective. And that's why hydroxychloroquine and other therapeutics have been pushed aside, have been badmouthed. And it's what we really need to be thinking about is changing that rule. We need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We need to be able to pursue multiple avenues of therapeutics. And right now, we need to be getting those therapeutics out. You know, we have Paxlovid and some of the other things that have been proven to be very effective in stopping hospitalizations and in curbing the spread of the disease. We're not getting those out. It should be a warp speed type urgency to get these things out to people.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
If I said it, I meant it. Bite my tongue for